Okay, it's been a slow week for me so far. Haven't found a ton of plays, and I think if nothing else, I'm just kind of feeling out the market at the beginning of the year. Um, so only made a couple calls today, but pretty proud to say, look at this PXP daily chart here. We called this, actually I called this for the chat room, was projecting the chart at the time, called this at 36.94, which I'm not sure. Let me get the drawing tool off here and see what the low of the day was. 36.89 was the low of the day. And we called it after it had already bottomed, by the way. So, I mean, literally picked the bottom clean just right there. And a stop 6 cents below. And I'm going to show you why I made the call. On an intraday basis, it was on a sell-off. Okay, and forming one of my favorite intraday setups. Then I always look at the daily too to see what's going on, and I saw that picture it at the time. We had a solid red candle. You had support. What used to be resistance, often that's hard to draw a straight line, often becomes support. Okay, so it was down to these recent highs. Oftentimes stocks come down and retest those, probably stop people out that bought the breakout or whatever. So it was down to support, down to a rising 8-period moving average, and then not only that, this is what it looked like when I called it. Not only that, it had just taken out a whole number, which I oftentimes, one of our members pointed this out a long time ago, oftentimes stocks that are selling off hard, and there's a whole number, like in this case 37 below, oftentimes they will push down below that whole number, sometimes just taking out the stops or whatever, but it happens more often than you would think. So once it took out 37, I switched to 2-minute candles, looking for the old wash and rinse, we call it, below 37, and called it right above this candle, 36.94. Low of day stop, 6 cents below 36.88. 6 cents risk. And then look at this. It ends up, I'll switch to 5 so you can see it, ends up taking out the high of the day. Talk about picking the bottom clean. Absolutely did it on PXP. Now my confession, and why I don't sound giddy. On my own trading, I filled out an order form, and normally I use the market. Okay, you've got plenty enough volume there to send a market order, but right now I'm trading through E-Trade versus I used to trade through Lightspeed, and so oftentimes on a web-based trading program, I'll use a limit order, and just got plumb stupid and used a 36.95. Should have used a 37 limit. We had a couple people buy it at the market, and both of them that I know of got filled below 37, so still not a lot of slippage. But literally I filled out that limit order and it just jumped right past it. So there's an example of trying to get too cute. Anyway, still thrilled because we had a bunch of members just make a killing in this thing, and just pick the bottom clean. And speaking of picking bottoms clean, I guess there's a joke there somewhere. HAIN, one of our members, pointed this out when it looked like this to me. Look like that? That is absolutely one of my favorite setups again, okay? And I'll show you why. It's grinding lower all day. You just kind of loosely connect the tops. Grinding lower, and then you get what we call the shape change. Where it goes straight down into stair steps, increasing volume. You've heard me talk about a PFPD. That is a picture-perfect PFPD. That's a tongue twister. And so I pointed this out to the room. Normally you take the first break of a previous 5-minute candle's high, and more than a 50-cent move there. Now I didn't make that an official call because I looked at the daily on HAIN, and I even liked it more because of the daily, by the way, because you were down a few days in a row already, which made this more apt to be capitulation. Oh, and also notice the push below the whole number and back above. You also had the wash and rinse. So this thing had everything going for it. Typically, I won't call stocks that average well below. I mean, this average is well below 1 million shares a day, and so they can jump around a lot. So in the interest of safety, I said I'm not making this official call and I'm not taking the trade. I don't want to encourage anyone to trade these scary thinner stocks. Having said that, we did have members. I said on an individual basis, you are more than likely to make money doing it, but I just can't call it because running a chat room, I've got to stick to my million share a day average. Now I will deviate from that on swing trade ideas because we scale in small, but on a day trade I just couldn't call it. But there's an example of a nice one too. Another example of being in the room that might offer profitable opportunities. SHLD I had on watch today, and when it got down to 29, I said it did have some support on the long-term chart in this area, and some of our members took it around 29. That was not in any way, shape, or form a call, and I didn't call or take it, but it did make it to 30.50. So let me think. OVTI is now on my radar because of this big volume spike. I did call it at 12.54, somewhere in here, or in here somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, with a stop that did not get stopped out. I think it was a dime below. But it's not really worth talking about in the wrap-up video because it only made it to 12.69. Still a profitable trade for anyone that took it. And that may have been it for the day. APKT, that's not true. APKT, huge gap down yesterday and traded sideways all day. And then today gaps above yesterday's high. So it became interesting. And I called it, let me zoom in here. I called it over this candle here at 26.17. Worst case stop down below this candle, 25.82. So that's a pretty wide stop. But it did ultimately make it to 26, from 26.17 to 26.65. And you did get a quick pop to 26.34. So anyway, and it never did stop out. But it didn't make it easy. All right, and I think that's it from the day. So easing my way into the new year, but still having a nice year in the chat room so far. And we'll continue to be patient and wait for the low risk setups. All right, talk to you soon.